Welcome to the ZOTAC Red Stage. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, StarCraft fans, we've got an amazing first game for you to see. I am Rifkin, I'm casting with Doom Esports, and spawning here in the lower right corner of the map, playing for no one other than himself, and maybe Cassandra, it is Grubby.
His opponent, the Empire Terran player in the blue trunks. None other than Cass.
Of course, as you see on the screen currently displayed, or not currently displayed, there we go. You can see the favor of the fans, 59%, still to 41, 10 to 7 people voting to hope that Grubby takes this victory.
Very interesting.
But
Very interesting.
yeah, first name basis, both of these players. Of course, if you don't know, Manuel and Misha, names of these two guys. So not often do you see players enter a game with first name basis.
I never know what Grubby's intentions are when he does this early talking. It seems like he's one of the few players who can actually get away with talking and playing at the same time. Just may be his ridiculous APM from back in the Warcraft 3 days, but he always seems to be doing, some type of early engagements with his opponents in terms of the text. So I don't know if it's mind games, I don't know if it's just to set the tone or what have you, but
I think it's just
seems to be doing it.
I think it's just Grubby's like the nicest guy in the world. He just genuinely wants to have a quick chat before they get into the heat of battle.
All right.
That's my thought at least, but quick command center coming out of gas. No gas is going down, which is the big thing for Grubby to scout. Is actually just scouts the CC first. Doesn't even need to continue scouting. Knows that, alright, if your resources are donated here, you're not going to have gases up, which means I don't have to worry about a Reaper.
That is definitely something we need to note. And Cass moving up to 2 barracks off of the initial command center. Grubby back at home is going to respond by throwing down his own Nexus. So he's definitely playing to the player, playing to the scenarios that he's seeing on the field, and just adapting to what's going on. We saw him earlier in a TVP have to adapt after his Nexus was blocked, but in this case, he's going to get it up early, and curious to see if he's going to go for that same very fast Storm style. I get the feeling that that's what he favors in the matchup, because I have seen him do it on more than one occasion.
It really is good versus Terran, and the thing that's amazing, we saw it earlier in the game we cast, when you pair Templar with War Prism, they become that much better. But I don't know, Cass is not the same quality of player that Grubby got to walk over before. This is one of the better Terran players in Europe.
And, there are a couple opportunities for drops to really be effective on this map as well. Between the third and the natural being kind of stacked up on each other, with the main really easily accessible from there, if you're going for a drop along the left-hand side, or just the sneak attack factor from the right-hand upper portion of the map, where there's locations where the Terran player may not actually be scouting out, but we do see Cass building that supply depot on the outskirts of his base, perhaps, preemptively looking to ward off any dropships later on in the game that may be coming in.
Yeah, Grubby doing kind of the same thing. Pylon very far to the left of his base. I believe that was his second pylon too. I really like that move because, as you said, drops are very as a Terran player playing Bio, if you can't get drops off, you're probably not going to win that game. But that quick robo going to put you and me both to shame. Although this could just be for a faster Warp Prism, we'll see. There are some players who do like to utilize the double Immortal drops. We've seen those from time to time. They can be very nasty to deal with early on.
I kind of like the decision to go for the early robo. If he compounds this with a Robotics Bay and goes for an early Colossus push, I think that's a good decision based on what he's seen from Cass, because Cass's tech is going to be delayed. It simply is. There's no other way to put it. His stim is just now starting, which is actually relatively early considering he hasn't thrown down a factory whatsoever, but it is going to be Immortals initially here coming out from Grubby.
Yeah, this is a little curious too, because typically you don't see players rush to stim in this regard with 3 barracks on the field because of how strong the overcharge is. I'm not gonna go as far as to call it overpowered, because it's not. It's very limited in what it can do. But what it will do is stave off the pushes for a little bit of extra time. And sometimes it's that 30 seconds, that 1 minute, however long it takes to get that Colossus out on the field in order to fight the next battle. But of course, it's not Colossus following this up, and an overcharge will be good enough to do damage on its own, but Reaper will find the Immortal here at the top of the ramp.
And get a scout off on a couple of gateways going down. It's going to be 4 in total that Grubby's adding on to his infrastructure at this point, which is going to put him up to 5, and actually going to drop down an additional gateway here to go up to 6. So could this be a timing attack in the works here, Rifkin?
Well, really relieving for Koss is the fact that he saw those an immortal, and that because if there was nothing on the field from this robo facility, it could have been Quick Colossus. And if it was a Quick Colossus, his Bioforce would be quivering in their boots. But more bunkers coming down, a little bit paranoid, but rightfully so, as Grubby is putting a pylon right outside the base of Koss.
Absolutely, and I'm curious to see if Grubby will continue to push up forward through here if it isn't the most opportune engagement for him, or if he's going to back up and try to transition into something else. We were talking about adaptability earlier, and he's definitely going to have to do some type of adaptability once this engagement actually starts, and now it's been scouted out. He does see the Immortals and the Sentries moving across the field, does cost, so how he prepares is going to pull the SCVs.
Yeah, you gotta have these in front of the bunkers, guys, not just behind them, because force fields will go off and make this.
A lot of force fields available here, Rifkin.
Yeah, there we go. See, those are the force fields, but there's no SCVs on the back. One SCV is here repairing, but it's not enough. That bunker is taken down, but at the cost of quite a few units for Grubby.
Militia Corps now going to join the fray as well.
Yep, still just hugging this one bunker.
A lot of zealots being warped in here from Grubby.
Yeah, Grubby's really dedicated to this, but a full surround on this bunker gonna make it hard to bust. I mean, it will still go down if Cass doesn't repair it, which he's not. Gets on it a little bit too late.
Stim's done, Rifkin, but there's no medevacs on the field just yet. The first two are only about halfway in production.
And Time Warp is turned down.
Time Warps.
And if Cass somehow could get a ledge advantage, however you want to phrase that, to snipe off the zealots as they're warping in, but not gonna be the case. There's no more bunkers on the field. They're like, those medevacs are so damn close to getting out. Big force fields will lock in so many Marines.
2 medevacs now just joining in. Koss is going to pull the SCVs, lose some mining time there on the natural, but this is desperation here for him. Grubby doesn't have a third base now. He's continuing to warp in more and more units as soon as those cycles are finishing.
Yeah, it might seem desperate, but absolutely necessary in this regard. There's no AoE, so the SCVs will soak quite a few hits here, and if they can connect to the Immortals, so much more power to them, but getting that far in is going to be difficult, and Cass has to be careful about how much ground he's giving up. If Grubby force fields the main, he cuts off 100% of the reinforcements.
+1 not done yet for Koss. Now just finishing up. Now is the time that he's going to move forward here. The army supply is better for Grubby at this point. 50 army supply to 37, but the medevacs will try to make these units as cost efficient as possible, and you got to be betting those SCVs are going to be pulled this entire time.
Still dancing around here. Big stim does go off. 4 medevacs here. A lot of healing. If he can get through the zealots, the Immortals are not that scary because he's got such a high Marine count.
Oh, well, the Marines are pushing forward here, Rifkin. It looks like the upgrades are just a little bit too much here for him to handle. The position of the armies, he's going to do it, I think, here.
I can't believe it, but I think you're right. These 3 Immortals don't stand a chance. Grubby will be sent packing. No recall available, so everything going to be lost on this half of the field. Mothership Core goes down, and so will that last Immortal, and Grubby has no follow-up. He's got no tech on his side. He's getting some sentries in. The Colossus will be on the field soon, but not anywhere close to in time, I feel.
This counterattack could just kill Grubby. Looking at the unit counting stations, though, there is a significant worker advantage. 47 probes to 28 SCVs, but that's not going to help once the engagement ensues.
Doom, there's no photon overcharge available. Mothership Core is going to come out, but no energy.
Got to wait for that one Colossus. As you said, if he can get that out, he may have a chance in this game, but as this natural is dropping, so many probes are falling as well, and the income advantage that Grubby had is faltering.
Yeah, 28 workers were killed by Grubby, but Cass is quickly catching up to 21 right now.
Yeah, look at the overall supplies here, Rifkin. 44 to 88.
Yeah.
Thermal Lance desperately being researched here for Grubby. First Colossus will make its way onto the field, so we'll have to see if he can actually defend against this, but the natural's going to drop.
And these medevacs may be dry, but look how many are on the field. This is more than enough to keep these Marines sustained through stim packs.
Oh, you can say that again.
Okay. These medevacs may be dry. No, I'm sorry. But yeah, the Colossus is up. Force fields will keep them out of the base, but of course, Doom drops a very big potential. The Colossus, sadly, without that Thermal Lance, is forced to be very cautious about this, but Cass is taking a third base while this is going on. Grubby was continuing to warp in like 1 or 2 zealots at a time across the field, but as we see, no longer a threat as that pylon's taken out.
And here come the drops of Doom. 10 medevacs loaded up.
The best case scenario, I think, for him would just to be dropping right on top of the Colossus, quite frankly. Like, boost in and get on top of it. But there's 2 on the field now, so Cass does have to be careful. This might look really advantageous for him, but what he has is very susceptible to Colossus fire, guys.
I'm just going to try to retake that natural, but it seems like Koss could just scoot back in there and then force a cancel down once again. He's taking the third. as well. It's about 3/4 of the way done. His upgrades are looking good. +1 armor is about to finish up.
Oh, he
He's
can
mixing
reach
in a
the
couple
robot
marauders.
facility. Oh, that is so scummy as he picks it off and gets out. Now, Grubby has no chance to make more Colossus. These two currently on the field are all he's going to have until this bay is finished, trying to get his natural up. This is looking really rough for Grubby. But again, what Cass has on the field, incredibly susceptible to what Grubby has on the field. He may have an army supply in a huge way, but with some perfect force fields, locking in Marines, these will die very fast.
You gotta admire Grubby's courage here to continue to stay in the game. You gotta be thinking, is he staying in it because he thinks he can win, or is he staying in it to just, plot out what his next stages in the upcoming games are going to be? Because this is such a huge army moving across the field. Roughly 95 army supply to 31 of Grubby. He's tripling the current supply. Got his third base up while Grubby just now is finishing the natural.
Yeah, I've been trying to talk a game up for Grubby, but now that the Vikings are on the field, everything changes. Thermalance is completed. Marauders and Marines will not be the primary issue. Well, they are going to be the primary issue, but for the Colossus at least, it's going to be those Vikings. There's like 3 stalkers, sorry, not even 2 stalkers, 3 sentries. These Vikings are not going to be dealt with very quickly.
And Koss playing very, very carefully, and who can blame him? I mean, there's a lot on the line here, and going up 1-0 is going to be a huge advantage. Going to give you a lot of freedom to do what you want in the second game. And here we go, big stim coming forward. He sees the small army of Grubby, spreads his units together.
Great force fields, but just in the end, not enough to follow it up.
Force Grubby to tap out the game, and Koss will take first game of the series.
Yeah, I think a lot of that boiled down to Koss holding. Like, that wasn't even, he needed to counterattack, which he was able to, which was great. But he held, and he held strong, he held fast. But guys, we're going to hop into a quick, very short ad while we get into the next lobby, as these guys will probably be pretty quick about it. So don't go anywhere. It's a best of 3. We still got more games coming up in a sec.